Good afternoon. It's good to see you. I'm nervous because we're here to do a beautiful thing and because there are so many beautiful faces here and so many warm hearts and an inability for language to speak to the sorrows that we've been feeling. Departing from her scripted remarks that she had prepared for the General Assembly at the United Nations earlier in this week, President Natasha Perk-Musar offered this. Madam President, let me end on a personal note for the sake of future generations
to fulfill our responsibility as human beings to ensure that we are on the right side of the history, we should do the right thing. We did not stop the Holocaust. We did not stop the genocide in Rwanda. We did not stop the genocide in Srebrenica. We must stop the genocide in Gaza. There are no excuses anymore. None.
Days later, they departed, the diplomats from around the world. They departed one by one, two by two, 10 by 10. Hundreds of people departed the hall, leaving a deflated leader who is at the helm of greatest violence, alone in the hall, shuffling his papers. We can walk away from this, as the diplomats did. We can help to change the mood of the country, the mood of our soul.
As Americans, my dear friends, I address you because I know your voices matter. Your nation has the power to make a difference, and our faith in humanity demands that we do not remain silent in face of injustice. May you be the voice of the voiceless and the light for those who suffer in darkness. And before I say goodbye, allow me, from the balcony of my mother, to introduce you quickly to my mother. That's my
Hello.
mother,
Good evening.
Siham. And this is my niece. That's the new generation. That's Rand. She's now at the Rosary Sister School, grade 8. And she's in the GCE curriculum. So hopefully she will grow to be what? A doctor? A defender for human rights? So this is my family, and I wish you and your beloved all the best, my dears, and thank you for your interest in humanity first and in Palestine second. Keep your voice loud enough for justice and for peace. Have a good evening.
If I Must Die by Rafat Al-Rayr. I chose this poem because 2 years ago, well, almost 2 years ago, I read it for my school in protest for Gaza. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his father who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale.
This is an excerpt from One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad. She is fog-colored, when they find her. She believes she has ended. Like porters in service of some grotesque nobility, half a dozen men carry the stretcher out of something cavernous, something that used to be a home. And she, a girl of 9 or 10, is whisked away. Sitting on the stretcher, dazed and bloodied, she looks off to the side. She appears to be searching. The men who carry the stretcher move with urgency as if the doing of care, of gentleness, can undo what has happened to this girl, to this place, to the bodies yet to be dug from beneath the rubble. As the men carry the girl out of what used to be her home, she asks if they are taking her to the cemetery. One of the men says, "Mashallah." Mashallah. In literal translation, the word means what God wills. But English, tasked with a word like this, turns stiff and monophonic, and mashallah is orchestral to any ear that grew up on this language. It is clear that what the man means when he says the word is something else entirely, something instantly familiar to generations who have heard it spilling out of the mouths of beaming grandmothers at the end of a piano recital, at graduation ceremonies, at the sight of a newborn. Used this way, it finds its principal purpose as an expression of joy. Mashallah. Look at the wonderful things God has done. The girl on the stretcher believes she has ended.
Liverpool footballer Mohamed Salah objected to a tribute to the man known as the Palestinian Pele, because the European Football Association failed to say how he was killed. The famous footballer posted, "Can you tell us how he died? Where? Why?" Questions about Palestinian death must not be uttered. They must be buried under the rubble or evaporated by 2,000-pound bombs or merely softened. Sky News has said, "A stray bullet found its way into a van and killed a 3 or 4-year-old young lady." No one actually shoots Palestinian children. Even CNN's Casey Hunt referred to 5-year-old Hind Rajib as a woman who was killed. The how, where, and why of Palestinian deaths is hard to talk about. In fact, most of us find it too much to bear, especially when we realize that it is our tax dollars that are paying for the bombs. But this evening we will bear it together. Together we will meet Palestinians. Together we will learn their names. Together we will listen to their last words. And together we will remember them. Before Dr. Mahmoud Abu Najila was killed in a strike in Al-Aura Hospital, he wrote a message on a whiteboard. "Whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us." Dr. Anan Al-Bursh performed 41 surgeries in one day. His last words on Instagram were, "We will die standing. We will not kneel. Nothing remains in the valley but the stones. We are the stones." When the Israeli soldiers threatened to blow up the hospital with the women and children inside if he and the other male doctors didn't come out, he called home and his 5-year-old daughter, Aileen, came to the phone. Aileen, where are you? I've missed you. Dad, come stay with us. Yes, I will come to you tomorrow. He was then arrested and tortured to death in an Israeli prison camp. I'm Dr. Marwan Sultan, director of the Indonesia hospital. The Israelis have attacked the second and third floor. We have 40 patients in very serious conditions. The electricity is off and the medical staff cannot keep the generator on because of the attack. We are calling on you, our brothers and sisters from all the humanitarian societies. Please help our medical staff and the injured people. An Israeli F-16 missile killed him and his family. Two 21-year-old paramedics, Mohammed Al-Hila and Rifat Radwan, are ambushed by Israeli soldiers while rushing to aid injured medics. Rifat records a message to his mother, while other medics can be heard praying as they are shot.
يما سامحيني يما، هذه هي الطريقة اللي اخترتها يما، إني أساعد الناس. سامحيني يما.
A week later, rescue teams uncovered a mass grave containing the bodies of 15 first responders buried with their crushed ambulance. An American journalist asked why Hamam Alo refused to heed Israel's demands to evacuate the hospital. He said, "If I go, who will treat my patients? We are being exterminated, and you pretend to care about human rights. To prove us wrong, please do something." When he checked in on his elderly parents, an Israeli missile struck the home, killing him and his father. Dr. Soma Barut, a prominent obstetrician. I am exhausted. All I want from life is for this war to end, for cozy new pajamas, my favorite book, and a comfortable bed. My heart aches. Everything is gone. 3 decades of life, of memories, of achievement, all turned into rubble. 7 souls lived here. We ate, drank, laughed, quarreled, and despite all the challenges of living in Gaza, we managed to carve out a happy life for our family. Israeli forces targeted and killed her. While photojournalist Miriam Abu Daka was reporting at Nasser Hospital, she was killed by an Israeli missile. Her last words to her little boy, "Gaith, my heart, my soul, my eternity. If I leave this world, promise me your tears will not drown my memory. Pray for me instead, so I may remain smiling in the gardens of heaven. And when life blesses you with a daughter, call her Miriam, so that I may live again in her laughter and in her light." 70-year-old Nabila's son, Muhammad, had Down syndrome. She had to feed and change him. When the IDF raided their home with a combat dog, Nabila told them, "He's disabled. Have mercy on him. Keep the dog away from him." The dog attacked him. Muhammad muttered, "No, no, no." The dog bit his arm. He patted the dog's head as he bled, saying, "Enough, shh, my dear, enough." The soldiers took Muhammad into another room and forced his mother and family out of the home at gunpoint. When the family was allowed back into the home, Muhammad had bled to death alone. Bashar Hamada's family were fleeing from a strike zone. In the car were his wife, his 3 children, and his 5-year-old niece, Hind. When Israeli tanks fired on them, he and his wife and 2 children, Ragad and Muhammad, were killed. His 14-year-old daughter, Lion, sitting between her dead siblings, called the Palestinian Red Crescent Society.
انتوا متخبيين؟ في السيارة احنا زميلنا الدبابة. انتوا جوا السيارة؟ الو؟ الو؟
The conversation ended with her screams and gunfire. The dispatcher rang back. This time, 5-year-old Hein answers, the only survivor left in the car.
ميتين؟ وهم هلا معك بالسيارة؟ نحكي معي. أنا معك يا عمري. أنا معك. أنا معك ليجي حدا ياخذك، ما بدي أسيبك لحالك. لما يجي حدا بتسكر زيك. أنت عيرة فقط. حبيبتي والله لو بإيدي لأذيكي.
It took 3 hours for Israeli authorities to give permission for an ambulance to rescue the child. When paramedics Yusuf Zaino and Ahmed al-Madhoun finally arrived, Yusuf spotted the car and said, "Oh, there she is." Then heavy gunfire ended communication. A US-made bomb destroyed the ambulance sent to save the 5-year-old. The little girl watched her would-be rescuers burn from the car window. When the worried dispatcher asked why she wasn't speaking, "I'm not speaking because my mouth is bleeding. I don't want to get my shirt dirty, so I don't trouble my mom." The dispatcher reassured her, "It's okay. Wipe your mouth, and I'll wash it, sweetheart." But then her voice disappeared. The bombing came without warning. In the middle of the night, an Israeli bomb struck our home. I found myself trapped under the debris with bruises. My daughter was injured. My grandchildren, Reem and Tariq, were killed. Reem, the soul of my soul. I kissed her, but she wouldn't wake up. A year later, Khalid was killed by the IDF while rushing to help neighbors after a tank shelling. Journalist Moaz Abu Taha's last words from the hospital: "Miriam needs a second surgery, but it can't be done in Gaza due to Israel's destruction of its health system." Then the missiles hit the hospital. Journalist Anas al-Sharif was killed in his media tent by an Israeli missile. This is my will and my final message. If these words reach you, know that Israel has succeeded in killing me and silencing my voice. I entrust you with Palestine, the jewel in the crown of the Muslim world. I entrust you with its wronged and innocent children who never had the time to dream or live in safety and peace. Do not forget Gaza. Journalist Mohammed Salama posted from Nasser Hospital, "Journalism is not a profession, it is pain. We write amidst deaths, documenting the suffering so it's not forgotten. In every word, there is a soul fading and a truth we refuse to let die." Then the Israeli missiles struck. Ahmed Abu Aziz asked, "What will you write about me when I die?" "Tomorrow will be better," was how Hussam al-Masri ended his conversations. "Can you help me evacuate my wife? The disease has exhausted her, and I can't bear to see her suffer anymore." After Israel bombed the hospital and killed his colleagues, he told his worried brother, "I'll just finish filming, then I'll go."
استهداف المكان مرة أخرى. حسام هاي حسام يا جماعة.
The Israelis threatened to kill poet Rafat al-Arir, so he went into hiding. His last interview, he said, "If there's no water, there's no way out of Gaza. What should we do?" commit mass suicide? Is that what Israel wants? I'm an academic. The toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if Israel invade, going from door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the soldiers, even if that's the last thing that I would be able to do. The Israelis did not go door to door. They sent a missile that killed the poet, his sister, and her 4 children. My name is Nur al-Din Ajaj. I am a Palestinian writer. I am 27 years old, and I have many dreams. I am not a number, and I do not consent to my death being passing news. Say that I love life, happiness, freedom, children's laughter, the sea, coffee, writing, Farouz, everything that is joyful, though these things will all disappear in the space of a moment. One of my dreams is for my books and my writings to travel the world, for my pen to have wings so that no unstamped passport or visa rejection can hold it back. Another dream is to have a small family, to have a little son who looks like me, and to tell him a bedtime story as I rock him in my arms. Noor was killed at home by an Israeli airstrike. How? Why? Where? The Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish says, if the olive trees knew the hands that planted them, their oil would become tears.
My first poem I'm reading is called Before Gaza, A Fall, and the poet is Ahmad al-Mala. The sick leaves hang on tight. There is not enough numbers to occupy the count. Death does its work, disappears, and the sick leaves turn to the ground. The river hits, makes way, don't repeat, repeat. Pollen and dirt to the side. What holds the future? A nothing is not enough. Gaza had to go in numbers. And now you. Who are you? And that some. Where? Where lasts beyond never. At the construction site, memory and flowers, metal and wood. Some things fall too hard, Traffic above water hold the scene together, to gather. I thinks shots, boom, bullets. Did I have to predict the future? Birds drench in filth. This is how the world works. And the moon, a half eggshell in the sky. And the second poem, I'm going to butcher the title, but it's by Fadi Judah, who is a Palestinian-American poet. Mimesis. My daughter wouldn't hurt a spider that had rested between her bicycle handlebars for 2 weeks. She waited until it left of its own accord. If you tear down the web, I said, it will simply know this isn't a place to call home, and you'd get to go biking. She said, that's how others become refugees, isn't it?
I'm reading a poem by Mahmoud Darwish, who was translated by the poet that was the author of your second poem, Fadi Judah. What will remain? What will remain of the white clouds offering, an elderberry blossom? What will remain of the blue waves drizzle, the cadence of time? What will remain of the hemorrhage of a green idea, water in holm oak veins? What will remain of the tears of love, a soft tattoo in violet? What will remain of the dust of searching for a meaning, the path of ardor? What will remain of the road of the great journey to the unknown, the traveler's song to the horse? What will remain of dreams' mirage, the sky's trace on the violin? What will remain of thing meeting with nothing, divinity's sense of security? What will remain of the Arabic poet's speech, a chasm and a thread of smoke? What will remain of your own speech, a necessary forgetfulness of the memory of place?
This poem is called What I Will by Zuhair Hamad. I will not dance to your war drum. I will not lend my soul, nor my bones, to your war drum. I will not dance to your beating. I know that beat. It is lifeless. I know intimately that skin you are hitting. It was alive once. Hunted, stolen, stretched. I will not dance to your drummed up war. I will not pop, spin, break for you. I will not hate for you or even hate you. I will not kill for you. Especially, I will not die for you. I will not mourn the dead with murder nor suicide. I will not side with you, nor dance to bombs because everyone else is. Because everyone else is dancing. Everyone can be wrong. Life is a right, not collateral or casual. I will not forget where I came from. I will craft my own drum, gather my beloved near, and our chanting will be dancing. Our humming will be drumming. I will not be played. I will not lend my name nor my rhythm to your beat. I will dance and resist and dance and persist and dance. This heartbeat is louder than death. Your war drum ain't louder than this breath.
I long to see her unharmed, breathing air the earth is meant to breathe. I follow the poet because I want to see her free. Words make a light path to the country I long to see, breathing oxygen of cerulean skies that all of the earth is meant to breathe, unharmed. I will call her she, her feminine pronouns her, hers. After violence, What does it mean, thriving? Does she fold into herself, onto herself, and after, long after the assaults? I follow the poet. He tells me to write. At my blue desk, a candle's flame, there's a window. The air smells like snow arriving. An army ravages her people and the land they belong to, the country she is. When I was a child, my father and I talked. I miss him. She exists. She is a country, my father would say. In Morocco, he fought to protect Arab children from the French rampage. In Paris, I never thought twice when I wore my black and gray and white scarf, patterns of olive trees, passages from the sea onto her land. I'm not Palestinian, but French, American, from Corsica. I follow the poet. He is breaking my heart each day. When the violence ends, how will she breathe in her restored cerulean sky, glimpse sun on her Mediterranean waters?
أولاد الأربعة لا إله إلا الله أولاد الأربعة لا إله إلا الله never survive. These rivals for day and night. Then a boy would come along who would change it all. For a while he too would take life, though his mother said unite these tribes. When the warrior's way began to weigh on his soul, he cried, Mama, is there redemption for the wicked and the cold? When the world tries to tear us apart, you will lower your guard, you show them your heart. If it's blood that they want, that they need, say take all you want, but take it from me, 'cause your love will live on in eternity. Yeah, your love will live on in eternity. People came out to see the fight. The rival extended his might, and the boy, now a man, heard his mother's final word, and he laid down his sword. But the enemy still took his life, and the man embraced him tight. He gave it all for love, all that was left, and he said with his dying breath, when the world tried to tear us apart, I lowered my guard, I showed you my heart. If it's blood that you want, that you need, take all you want, take it from me. When the world tries to tear us apart, I will lower my guard, I'll show you my heart. If it's blood that they want, that they need, take all you want, take it from me. When the world tries to tear us apart, I will lower my guard, I'll show you my heart. If it's blood
Reverend started us off today talking about the failure of language. And it doesn't matter how much we've studied this. We might have even been there physically, have friends alive and dead in that part of the world. But we're speechless. And so I went searching for people who were talking about that. And I found Thomas Merton, a revolutionary mystic who writes about the unspeakable. I'm going to read part of a chapter called Letter to an Innocent Bystander from Thomas Merton. If I dare in these few words to ask you some direct and personal questions, it's because I address them as much to myself as to you. You can easily guess that using the term innocent bystander, I had to examine my conscience to see whether or not I was being facetious. I do not remember if I smiled when I first thought of it, but in any case, I'm no longer smiling. For I do not think the question of our innocence can be a matter for jesting, and I'm no longer certain that it is honorable to stand by as the helpless witness of a cataclysm with no other hope than to die innocently and by accident as a non-participant. This inspires me to ask my first dangerous question. Although it seems to be impossible to do anything but stand and wait, is our waiting harmless? And is it innocent? Can we afford to remain inert? Can we afford to confuse helplessness with honesty? It's true that if one is helpless, honesty requires that they admit it. But if they're helpless through their own neglect, they can hardly permit themselves to be complacent in an admission of helplessness that is not at the same time an admission of guilt. Unless our waiting implies knowledge and action, we will find ourselves waiting for our own destruction and nothing more. A witness of a crime who just stands by and makes a mental note of the fact that he's an innocent bystander tends by that very fact to become an accomplice. Are we waiting for anything? Do we stand for anything? Do we know what we want? Our guilt, our deep resentment do nothing to preserve us from a shameful fate. On the contrary, our resentment is what fits us most perfectly to be their instruments. How can we acclaim that our inertia is innocent? It is the source of our guilt. A second thought. Before we try to decide what we're waiting for, let's make sure whether or not we are waiting. Perhaps indeed we've already given up hope of anything else. Perhaps we are unconsciously very busy in preparing the way for something which in our right minds we would be the last to wait for. In that case, not only are we not waiting for salvation, we are actively preparing our own destruction. This leads to a third question. Forgive me for asking, but do we not, after all, prefer to be frustrated and led into despair? Are we not content to make despair a comfortable evasion, since it has certain elements of the picturesque? And by despair, do we not come to terms with the meaninglessness of our own existence? Despair indeed seems very respectable, until one remembers that it's only the preparation to accept their next formula which will explain and exploit our emptiness. For you see, our emptiness is not innocent, not simply neutral, not nothing. It is the terrible spiritual vacuum into which malevolence can, like lightning, introduce itself in order to produce a universal explosion of hatred and destruction. This explosion is made possible by our emptiness. Without us, the emptiness of all the others would never be activated, and the death that sleeps in them would never be able to leap out and smash everything in sight. When all this has been said and pondered by us both, I think you would take it as bad manners for me to offer an easy solution. There is a certain innocence in not having a solution. There is a certain innocence in a kind of despair, but only if in despair we find salvation. I mean despair of this world and what's in it, despair of men and their plans, in order to hope for the impossible answer that lies beyond our earthly contradictions, and yet can burst into our world and solve them, if only there are some who hope in spite of despair.
I broke into Eden in the hours before dawn. I've stolen the apples that dropped on your lawn. My spirit, my pride, and my innocence gone. Please, Mama, let me come home. I heard, when the world tries to tear us apart, I lowered my guard. I heard, when there is fear, I soften my belly and I walk toward it. I heard, in the circle of parents, Israeli parents, Palestinian parents whose children are learning about the world together. I heard, I will not be your enemy. I refuse to be your enemy. I heard, keep your voice loud enough for justice and for peace. I'm going to ask that we form a circle so that we can stand around and sing together and put a beautiful light right in the middle of the room with the power of our voices, singing a song called Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift Every Voice and Sing is the Negro national anthem composed in the early part of the 20th century and was a means by which a group of people who felt cast out in this country found a groundedness and found a sense of community. As you are willing and as you are able, gently rise and form a circle around the outside of the sanctuary.